Good evening, everybody. It's Yankee Wally here. I know I'm a bit late getting back to you, but I've been absolutely obsessed with the Adelson trial, and it was on today. We are 5 hours ahead, so it started today at about, I'm not quite sure now, but anyway, I was there for it, and today was a revelation. We had, let me just show you the people that are coming up. The state's amended witness list. I didn't see Charlie Adelson. Rob Adelson was on today. That was a shocker. The things, he's basically told the truth. You can tell he's telling the truth, and he's exposed so many lies. You could almost hear them gasping in the courtroom. Wendy was before that. She came up with some lies. I'll tell you now who. That's the list of people that are coming on. The Adelsons are on first, as you can see. Wendy's been on and Rob's been on. Anyway, let me show you Rob. He's a lovely bloke. There he is there.
Blinks?
Yes.
Okay.
He's got a lovely face, a very open face, and he's the oldest son of Harvey and Donna Adelson. Now, when he was younger, he fell in love with a girl. Now, Donna, if you're following this trial, if you're not, you're going to have difficulty listening to me, I suppose. But anyway, most people are. It's a big trial, and it's a typical, well, not typical, it's an example of how somebody can completely annihilate their own family through their own hubris and control. It's quite awful. It's very, very sad. But we've got to see now who's going to get found guilty. At the moment now, Charlie is in for life without parole, Charles Adelson. Tata and Tutu, Louis and Sigfredo, the two Mexican mafia men that were hired by Catherine McBanua on behalf of Charlie, who paid them. They're in, one is life without parole, and Tata, the one that did the drive-in and actually exposed all of them, he was the one who brought it all to light. He got 20 years, which was really a good deal for him. He's been up before the judge now, yes, Friday, I think, and he's a very honest person, I think. I might be wrong. Anyway, today Wendy was up for half a day, and she said, this is a few things I spotted. She said that when she heard that Dan had been murdered, shot, when did she find out? Well, she told the prosecution lawyer, Georgia, well, I forgot her surname. She said that when she was on her way, they came and got her. She was having lunch with somebody. The police came and got her to take her down to the station, and they told her in the car. That's what she said today on the stand. When you see, if you look at the video of when Wendy Adelson arrived at the police station, she was accompanied by a victim advocate, and the police told her about Dan, and she absolutely lost it. She was crying, sobbing, screaming, really acting all emotional. And that was at the police station. Now she's trying to say that she found out that Dan had been shot in the police car on the way to the station. So all that acting that she did at the station was just that, an act. And that was very, very obvious to everybody that she lied about that. And the jury was scribbling in their notepads. So John Steinbeck said. That's the channel that I follow. It's Tallahassee Democrat is good as well, but I follow, there he is, Carl Steinbeck. There, him. It was day 2 today, and what was the other lie? Oh yes, the television. You remember all this kerfuffle about a television and how Charlie bought her a television because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. Apparently that was some joke. It's not even funny. But anyway, she had the geek man, to come and fix the telly. Why? Because she said previously that one of her children had thrown a can at the television screen. That was what I thought was what happened to the television. But today, she said she had the geek squad come in because there were some vertical lines down the screen that she couldn't get from the screen. She couldn't fix it. So she had the geek squad. Nothing about a big cracked screen with somebody throwing a can, one of her boys throwing a can. So that was another lie. That, you see, the thing is, she's clever. I'm sure she's supposed to be a lawyer. But so many lies to keep this story straight. So many people involved. There's Tutu, Tattoo, Catherine McBanawer, Donna, Harvey, Charlie, Wendy with an I, Wendy, and Grandma Gotti is Donna. I can't help it. Oh, but listen, I tell you, her face, Donna's face, and when they said, we're talking about Dan dying, she started crying, and the judge had to tell her to pull it together. Don't do that in public. And she said, yes, okay, I understand. But those tears were acting, because her face today is like thunder. I can't believe that somebody of her age, 74, has totally annihilated her family, all of them, except Robert that got away. He got away. As I was telling you, he met a girl and wanted to marry her, and Donna, being the controlling mother that she was, wouldn't allow it. She said she was not good enough, or whatever she said, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, they chose a wife for him and he married her, but it didn't work out, and he divorced this wife that Donna had chosen and then went back to his original girl, and they got married, and now they've got 2 children and they're very happy. I'd say he had a narrow escape. He must have seen that things weren't right. His mother, Donna, is totally controlling those 2 children, Charlie and Wendy, like glove puppets. She's just, they're all well-educated children. Robert is now an ear, nose and throat ENT surgeon in New York. Wendy is a lawyer, apparently, and Charlie was a periodontist, which is a dentist that does surgery, bit like when I had my implants done, that sort of surgery, not just dentistry. So they've all got good careers, and fair play, if Donna was responsible for that, that's good. But she also tried to meddle in their life. She hated Dan Markel. She hated him. And the texts that have been coming out in court, the things that she wanted Wendy to do, like dress the kids up in Nazi uniforms, that's not just offensive to Jews. Of course, it's more offensive to Jews because the Nazis were targeting the Jews, but it's offensive to Christians. Nobody wants to see a Nazi uniform. It's very offensive. And then she was saying some horrible things about him. They called him Jibbers. That was his nickname. And Wendy's on the stand, and Georgia is asking her all these questions, and she's saying, I don't remember. And then she does this blinking all the time. And then I don't remember, blink, I don't remember. And she tries to smile, and she has this really weird look when she smiles, like her eyebrows go up and her eyes go big. I think she thinks it's her little princess look, helpless female look. I'm not quite sure. But the lies were coming thick and fast today. And then here comes Rob. And he comes, let me just go into my pictures now. This is while they were in the interview room at the police station when Wendy was told that Dan had been shot and he wasn't expected to live, she had a total meltdown, even though she was told in the police car half an hour earlier, and then she wanted to call her parents to notify them. While contemplating aloud what she would say, the victim advocate sitting next to her, she told her that her parents were very angry with Markle and described it as a very fucked up situation. Wendy then called and spoke to her mother, and she told her mother to sit down, if you remember. After notifying her mother, Wendy asked her mother to notify Charlie of the shooting. Wendy would not have done so. Call details indicate after Wendy's conversation with her mother, Donna, she called Charlie's cell phone, but they'd got them all time-stamped so they know how quickly he went for the phone. Of course, we got to remember that Charlie was the one who hired the hitmen. Charlie knew, Donna knew, Wendy knew. But Wendy so far has stayed free because she's very cleverly, I would say, distanced herself from the actual crime itself. But she did slip up because the morning of the crime, the shooting, when she left her house, she was going to meet some friends for lunch and she had to go and buy a bottle of liquor for a party. And she didn't have to drive past Dan Markle's house, but she did. And it was out of the way of the liquor store and where she was having lunch. But she went past there because she wanted to see if the job had been done, the actual hit. And she turned into Trescott, her old place where she used to live and Dan still lived. And she saw the police tape up and she did a U-turn and came out. But she was spotted by a policeman. Isn't that wonderful how they saw that? They must have been on the alert for that. And she was spotted, and so she had to admit it. And then she said, well, I went past there because it was a shortcut, which it wasn't. She said, I saw the police tape and I thought maybe a tree had come down. There were no storms. And she said, so I did a U-turn and went the other way. The police tape that was up said crime scene quite clearly. It didn't say fallen tree or just ordinary nothing. And that policeman was in court today. He was very, very sure of himself when he described the car, the people carrier or whatever it was she was driving. So Wendy has put herself at the scene of the crime within minutes of it happening. And that is very telling. But of course, if that's all they've got on her, that was it. But of course, now today... Oh, hang on, I thought the cat was coming in then. Today, she's really slipped up, trying to make out she was told in the police station or in the police car. The television wasn't the fault that she said last time. And there's more other things. But when Rob Adelson got on the stand... Whoa, let me just think of the things that he said. Hang on, I've got to just take a little look. Oh, here's a few things I found out today in the chat. When Wendy went to the ladies' loo, she had a bodyguard sort of thing. They call her, what's her name? Honeycutt. Honeycutt is Wendy's guard at the bathroom. When Wendy went into the bathroom, somebody came out and stopped anybody else going in. Gosh, she thinks she's important, doesn't she? And then I still think Donna's attorneys are going to try and get a plea deal they know is over. A plea deal, it is over. And yet, you know, Donna's face is not... She's still got this arrogant look about her. Oh, yes, Louis Riviera, that's not the shooter, but he's the driver, the one that got 20 years. He named Wendy as being present when things were discussed about this planned murder, the hit. Also, there's a picture of Wendy and Catherine McBanua having their photograph taken in Miami. That's another thing we got to remember. Why was Wendy calm? And then she burst into tears when Issam told her about the shooting, if she was already told in the police car. Harvey, no, not Harvey, Rob Adelson came in through the door they use for prisoners at the back of the court. I know about this door because I've used it. When I had a knee replacement, I happened to be in court just before I went to prison, and I couldn't get up the steps to the court. Cardiff Crown Court has got these massive steps, and so I came in through the prisoner's entrance, so it does exist. And Rob Adelson, the only good one in the whole family, he came in through the back entrance, and I wonder why. Was it because he didn't want to see his family, or was it because he didn't want to see his family? Maybe he thought that they might shoot him. It's not beyond a possibility, is it? Knowing the things that the defence attorney, Jackie her name is, she's Donna's defence attorney, when she was up and asking questions to everyone, you found it hard to know whose side she was on. And then you've got to think, well, maybe, I mean, obviously she's supposed to be supporting Donna, defending Donna, but there's times when she kind of speaks derogatory about Wendy. And that makes me think Donna has always protected Wendy. She's always kept her out of it. And it's quite obvious, that is. But I think, and this is an interesting dynamic to watch, I think she's thought, stuff that, I did everything for Wendy and she's not given me anything back. She's not even come to see me. And I think her lawyer, Jackie somebody, is actually throwing Wendy under the proverbial bus. So there's a lot of hate between members of the family. Again, when Wendy had a divorce from Dan comes across as, yes, I think he was quite a strong character, personality-wise, but I don't think he was dishonest at all. I think and another thing, they met, Wendy and Dan, on a Jewish dating site online. Now, Wendy said she was a Jew and married Dan as a Jew. She really had no respect for the Jewish culture. Dan was a devout Jew. He followed the kosher rules, which is no meat and milk on the same shelf in the fridge, and nothing with a cloven hoof, like no pork, no shrimps or seafood or anything that wallows on the bottom of the sea. She didn't even know the reasons why the Jews don't eat things like pork. And I think another reason is because pigs can't sweat, apparently. So they got anything that's bad in them stays in them. I don't think that's true, but it's something to do with that. And shrimps and prawns all eat the crap that everyone else gets rid of in the sea, and that's why they don't eat shellfish either. That Donna offered Dan Markell $1 million if he let the kids go to Miami. With Donna wanted those grandchildren with her and Harvey in Miami. Harvey, I think that he is, yes, I think he is very involved, because a lot of conversations took place and there's no way he wasn't around. He did hear them. He must have. I mean, they've been married for 54 years or something. He was involved. Wendy was involved, but it's a case of whether we think that and are sure of it, whether they can prove it. And that's the next stage. It's a relief today, and I think we all heard enough today to know it was like, wow, Donna is cooked. She's done. It's over for her. But she didn't cry at all, and that wasn't because the judge told her not to show any emotion. Her face was like set in stone. I thought, you stupid, stupid woman. How did she end up like this? Controlling, micromanaging everything in her family, everything. Really bossy. I'm not saying she didn't have her heart wasn't in the right place, but she can't live somebody else's life for them. But Wendy was her little princess. Charlie was her naughty little boy. And where are they both now? Rob, the one that got away because he divorced that woman that Donna fixed him up with. And then he remarried, and he's very, very happy. Well, he looks happy anyway. Oh, that's the video now. I want to see. I just want to. Yeah, Wendy's got a. That's Harvey underneath. That's Carl Steinbeck on the top. Look at his face. He's got a face like a bag of spanners, isn't he? He doesn't look happy. His mouth goes permanently down. He's not very tall, apparently. He's quite a slight fella. He's been sitting in the court. Well, it's only day 2 today, but he's been sitting there in the front row, and there's a reserved, right across that row, reserved for defence, and the row behind him, reserved for defence, family, I suppose, all empty. He's there, sat in the court, on his own. Just him. There's nobody else for the defence. There's people in the public gallery, which is the 3rd seat and onwards back. And Ruth Markel and her husband, I forgot it, Phil Markel, they didn't cry when they were talking about Dan dying. Ruth has got the most beautiful face. She's got a face like a little, well, she's not little and she's not young, but she got a face like, I guess when she was young, she looked like a cherub, like a round face, big blue eyes, and she's Dan's mother. So all she's got now is, or they've got is a daughter. Such a sad, but so much respect for that woman, her strength, her dignity, her faith, everything about her. And even the way that they haven't seen their grandchildren, because as soon as the murder happened, Wendy took the children, went down to Miami, changed their surname so that they didn't have Markel. Talk about hate. How much hate would you have to take a child's and change their birth certificate and remove a middle name of one of the boys? I think it was because it was a Jewish hand-down name, like when a Jewish relative dies, you use their name as a middle name, as a mark of respect. My daughter's got a middle name from her Jewish aunt, Heather, and there was one Jewish name that one of the boys had, and Wendy removed it. How is that? How can you do that? Good God, is a horrible thought. Wendy changed their identity, and they haven't seen the children since Dan was murdered. So they lost their son, and the grandsons, who would probably remind them of their son, have been taken away. If anyone has a reason to hate, it's Ruth and Phil Markel. But they don't seem to have that in them. And I love them for that. They're just lovely people. You can tell they're lovely. But there's a nice house there for 10,000. What do you think of that? 10,000. 2 bedrooms as well. In a place called Horden, up north. I think it's somewhere by Darlington. She had her children's surname changed, and Dan Markel's parents, Ruth and Phil, who live in Canada, were unaware of this change until they received an email from Wendy, September the 24th, 2015, so a year and 3 months after. Wendy indicated in the email that she did this to protect them from media reports and the possibility of someone, like a hitman, trying to find her children. That's rich, isn't it, when you think that the hitman was already booked by them. And if anything now, they should change their names back to Adelson because Markel, because Adelson has definitely got a bad reputation attached to that. The Adelson family have got nothing to be proud about. Yep, that's it. I just said that. That's it. That's Brian Kohlberger's handwriting. Isn't that shocking? Isn't it? I can't believe he's writing like that. I could hardly read it. Right, I think that's it. This is the fella who I recommend his channel to follow the trial because he gives you a lot of background. He's a lawyer of some description, former prosecutor and defense attorney. He's from San Antonio, Texas. And that's his brother there on the right. There he is. And he's very good at picking it apart and explaining it in kind of layman's terms, you know. But anyway, in my not history, playlists, I've got a lot of playlists, and there's one playlist called Adelson, and you can find it, and I've saved everything. I don't know where it is. I've saved everything, and it's a public playlist, so if you want to catch up, I highly recommend this one. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, I very fussy which crimes I watch, because it does involve a lot of investment of your time and your brain. You've got to think about everything. You've got to give it a lot of thought, and to keep up with it, and to see the pictures, and to look at the newspapers, and keep up to date with it. In fact, I'm lousy at the moment. I don't know enough to really make this video, but I just wanted to let you know what I know so far, and that's that Donna is definitely, she cannot be not found guilty. She can't. And Wendy, I'm just counting down now to when she's arrested, because after what Rob said today, I got to remember what he did say. He said, oh gosh, hang on, I got to think about that again. One sec. Here's something that he said. He said that his mother was a very involved parent. She had certain fixed ideas throughout your life of certain things she wanted to happen in you and your siblings' life. And it was acceptable if you decided to do what she said, but not acceptable if you went against what she said. I think she had certain sort of rigid ideas or impressions for what she wanted for us. And you know, if you went along with that, it was fine. If you didn't, things were not fine. Did she have strong opinions about who you all married, what you did for a living, and those types of things? Yes, obviously, and you're a doctor. Was that an acceptable profession for her? Yes, that was okay. Was she kind of more involved in your life, Charlie's life, or Wendy's life, would you say? You know, probably more involved with Wendy, and probably to a lesser degree with Charlie. And just goes on. Hang on, let me just get to another good bit. So he says, I think it was certainly between over-involved and controlling. It probably lended itself more towards controlling. But in various realms, but I think it was certainly a tension. Okay, so a little more on the controlling side. Does that include your personal lives as far as your relationships and your profession and your jobs? Yes. Was Charlie always needing more attention than the other two children? I think so, yes. When did Wendy's life start becoming one that she needed to pay or give more attention to? You know, I think when she had troubles in her marriage, I wasn't aware there were any trouble in her marriage until Wendy left, but I think about that time when she had two young children, Donna became more involved. When Donna started giving her attention to Wendy's life, once Wendy starts going through the separation. He describes her as someone who's mentally sharp, thinking about things from all angles. Were Charlie and Donna dependent on each other? I would say Charlie was somewhat dependent on my mum to help him out with organising stuff in his dental practice. I think he probably relied on her a lot. His father owned the dental practice, and then in 2012, Charlie bought it off him, and then in 2015, he sold it back to him. I don't know why. Probably because he'd been arrested for Dan's murder. In 2014, the murder wasn't it? So in 2015, he sold the practice back to his dad. They're not stupid, are they? When Wendy Adelson left Dan, her mother had already been up to Tallahassee and rented a place for her, for Wendy. I think they got the furniture and everything sorted, and it was ready for her to move in. When Dan was in New York giving a speech or on stage, and that day she took all her furniture, emptied the bank account of $350,000, and then when she was in her new place, she rang Dan. He was just about to go on stage to give this talk, and she told him that she'd left him and the divorce papers were on the bed. And apparently they were both very happy that they'd done it that way and upset him that much. They seemed to enjoy really upsetting Dan. Their hate, even after he died, they just wouldn't give him any sympathy. There was no sorrow or regret at all. That's awful, isn't it? And Charlie comes across as a little bit like a boy that wouldn't grow up. He's really into go-karts, jet skis, going out on boats. And Donna was very much into her grandchildren because she spent so long with them when Wendy was going through a divorce. Donna wouldn't let Wendy drive from Tallahassee down to Miami without her. I don't know if she thought Wendy wasn't capable, but she just didn't think it was right that Wendy with two little children, so she used to go up on a plane and drive down with Wendy. She cosseted her, she controlled her, and the boys as well. When Wendy was going to live in Miami or down Florida way, she was going to take the children and everything, and she'd lined up a job with a fella called Gary Cohen. I don't know what the job was involving, but it was $1 million. The pay was $1 million a year. She'd be a partner, and it was something that was brought up a lot. She'd be able to take care of her children in a way that she couldn't do in Tallahassee. And then it was probably the one thing that she mentioned to me, and the only time he felt any anger after the murder had occurred was I asked, is Wendy going to work for Gary now? And she told me that Gary it didn't work out. She didn't get the job, and she was really angry. Now I wonder why the job didn't work out. I mean, if somebody's husband gets murdered and there's a lot of whispering around, I don't think you'd want to employ somebody, let alone pay them $1 million a year. Yeah. So she had a lot of boyfriends, apparently, a lot of boyfriends. This could be her reacting and sort of going against all her mother's control. There were certain things like, that's it. She said that, what did she say? Don't tell my mother about. Oh yeah, she started dating Jeff Lacasse. And Rob said it was the first time she'd ever told me. I knew she had boyfriends, but she'd never made a big issue. But she showed me pictures of him and that they were dating. And then she said to him, don't tell my mother. Now, her mother already knew about Jeff Lacasse. Why was Wendy saying to Rob, her brother, don't tell Mum, and making a big deal? She wasn't fussy. Jeff Lacasse was the patsy that she'd started dating. I think she was hoping to set him up as the murderer of Dan Markel. You know, new boyfriend, jealous new boyfriend, kills ex-husband, that sort of a thing. So she said to Rob, don't tell my mother that I'm seeing this bloke. She sent him pictures and everything. Isn't that peculiar? So she was, right back then, in 2014, I think, you know, she knew what she was doing, put it that way. And when Dan Markel was murdered and Wendy had to go to the police station, she didn't tell the police or anybody about Jeff. And so he told him, he said she had a boyfriend and he was special because she showed me pictures of him and everything. And the FBI came to Rob's house and asked him, and he told them, and he said they just asked questions about Jeff, and that's how they found out about Jeff. And then Wendy was trying to blame Jeff because when they hired the car, the two hitmen, Tato and Tato, they hired the same car that Jeff Lacasse had, a Toyota Prius. I think Jeff's was silver, but this one was like a very pale metallic green. Yeah. So, anyway, when Donna and Harvey moved from Coral Springs, they still own the house. They were very, very wealthy. They had a lot of cash around. They would do a lot of orthodontal, dental, and if you paid cash, you get a good discount. If you paid by card, well, normal price. But they had buckets of money, and they were very wealthy. So they still had their house in Coral Springs, but they bought an apartment in a place called a Continuum, and apparently it's this high rise in Miami where a lot of famous people live, and I don't know how much they paid for it, but they were really living it up. They were going big, you know. It's on Miami Beach, on South Beach. It's very secure. There's a lot of celebrities live there. A lot of A-listers. Continuum. Well, they didn't hardly get to move in, did they? They hadn't been there 5 minutes and all this has happened. Just goes to show. They're robbing the taxman, I think, I'm not sure. Buying a big plush, living it large. And then because they Donna, I think, got too big for her boots and thought she was controlling. That's probably why they didn't get on her and Dan Markel. Dan wouldn't be controlled. It's a terrible way to be. Terrible. Imagine your mother-in-law telling you everything that you're going to be doing. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day there. I know this is probably not the video you wanted to hear. I'm sorry for that. But at the moment, I'm feeling a bit, how can I say it? I'm just a bit depressed. I don't know. I just feel a bit, yeah, just depressed. It's just the way I am. I will get out of it. I know I've got to see the housing people on Friday. That's probably why I'm like I am. But I will get over it. I will. But this court case, you see, this live trial, is a very good way for me to just take my mind off everything. I get completely taken up with it. I'm not very bright when it comes to... I'm absolutely useless at following a plot in a film. I'm just no good at it. My sister used to laugh at me because I used to say, why did he say that? What did he do that? And she used to say, you're useless. And I was. I still am. And I find the same thing with live trials. A couple of things stand out to me. And when Rob was out talking on the stand, I know he doesn't look too good there, but he is a lovely looking man. He really is. He's a gentle soul, you can just tell. If you follow it tomorrow, it starts at 9 o'clock in the morning in Tallahassee, and it'll be live. There's Tallahassee Herald or something, and also Carl Steinbeck's channel. And tomorrow, I think they've got Charlie Adelson coming up. It's going to be you really got to look at their faces and watch what, Wendy can't stop blinking. Her face has gone quite puffy now. I don't know if it's filler or alcohol, but I mean, none of them are faring well. Donna Adelson, it's so negative for your health, isn't it? If you've got to carry a lot of stress and strain, mind, I don't even know if she even feels it. Perhaps the way you look at her face, you think she still thinks she's bloody right. I don't know if she's living a lie and she's thinking I didn't do it, and she didn't do it. That's true. And the guy that did it is away for life without parole. That was Catherine McBanawer's husband, who she's got 2 children with. Her and her husband are both away for life without parole. So don't ever be a hitman. The money's not worth it. They got about $35,000 each. Catherine McBanua was picking up the money off Charlie and doling it out to her ex-husband and the other one, Louis. And apparently she ended up with a lion's share. I think she got about 60 and they got about 30 each. There was about 100,000 given to them altogether. Oh, dear Guy. Well, put it this way. No matter how broke I was, I would never do anything like that. I wouldn't even do something less, like punch somebody. I was going to say that, but I can't even punch anyone anymore. My strength is gone. But it's another thing. If they were devout Jews, as they claim to be, do they really think that they're going to go to the promised land afterwards when you've done something as bad as this? I often think about the future. This is not where you're going to end up. This is just the interim period. You're going to go somewhere else after this, and how you behave, you'll be judged on it, I think. And I think people that are cruel to animals, I think when they die and they go to their afterlife, there's things like massive dogs like dinosaurs, and they with great big teeth, and they come and worry the life out of them. Slugs the size of cars come trundling along, frightening people to death. That's why I won't kill a slug. Well, I wouldn't kill one anyway. But, there's all sorts of revenge that can be got in the next life. You've got to think about that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just believing something that just isn't true. But I just think it's good to have an insurance policy. I always say I don't really believe, well, I'm not saying I do believe or I don't believe, but I would never deliberately say bad things about anything, any religion or anything, because nobody knows what happens after, do we? So just be nice just in case. Oh, that sounds bad. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow, I hope. And let me know if you don't want to talk about this anymore, and I'll find something else to talk about. You know me. I haven't even seen anything about Meghan Markle for ages. I couldn't care less. I mean, I'd much rather see a hitman murder court case than Meghan Markle, but who knows? She may end up doing that as well. I'll see you soon anyway. Thank you very much for listening. I feel a bit happier now I've got that off my chest.